Um, Friday should have been the stuff of bipartisan dreams. After 30, after the 35 House Republicans had ignored their boggy leader, or boggy like Bogggy leader Representative Kevin McCarthy, and voted last week to set up a January 6th commission to investigate the domestic terror attack on our capital. Six Senate Republicans, or Republicans as I like to call them, joined all 50 Democrats in voting for this legislation that was essential to our national security. A seventh person, Pat Toomey, was not present due to a family commitment. Had said that he would have supported the bill had he been there in person. Um, so when will this newly formed Sedition Commission finally begin its work, you ask? It won't, because the Republicans filibustered it. That's another thing that we need to get rid of, along with the Electoral College. Um, for months, Democratic Senator Joe, even though they call him a Democrat, but he's a Republican actually. For months, Republican Senator Joe Manchin has been arguing, and somewhere there must be a 21-letter German word to describe this, for the necessity of preserving the legislative filibuster that requires 60 votes to move ahead with almost any bill. Apparently convinced it's key to keeping the mythical spirit of bipartisanship in that chamber. Manchin said Friday that choosing to put politics and political elections above the health of our democracy is unconscionable, and a betrayal of the oath that we each take. Not enough to stop it, since he's already said that he won't destroy our government by ending the filibuster that allowed for that betrayal, which Democrats could do right now if he and Senator Kristen Sinema Kirsten Sinema would just support it. Yeah, Manchin and Sinema, even though they're listed as Democrat, they're both Republicans actually, and they're closet Republicans. And so instead, the two holdout Democrats have argued for months that this legislative accident of history that appears nowhere in the text of the Constitution is some kind of holy grail. And sure, its most prominent proponent in the 19th century was John C. Calhoun, followed by Strom Thurmond in the 20th century. But hey, it's not like they were in favor of anything that would be bad. And okay, it has been abused in heretofore unimaginable ways by the eternally crusty Moscow Mitch, but still, it must be kept if we're to be a bipartisan nation, or fucking something. But it's hard to understand how Manchin even acquired this folklore of the filibuster facilitating bipartisanship. Only 6 months ago, in another bipartisan act, 10 Republican House members and 7 Republican senators voted to, respectively, impeach and convict the squatter Donald Trump for his role in inciting that terrorist attack on January 6th, and the impeachment vote was not subject to a filibuster. So while the 2/3 necessary to convict the Senate was not reached, that bipartisan vote was recorded for all time. And why? Say it with me. It couldn't be filibustered. Manchin already had a more personal example to draw from, but in 2012, the nation was horrified when a madman massacred 20 little boys and 20 little girls and boys and 6 adult staff members at Sandy Hook Elementary School. But such was the carnage that many senators who had previously taken the NRA's view on guns, including Democratic senators like Bob Casey, Mark Warner, and Harry Reid, decided that they could no longer abide by the extremism and callousness of the gun lobby. And clearly Manchin was also deeply affected, but he hailed from mostly the rural West Virginia area and always had an A rating from the NRA. He even shot a piece of EPA legislation in a Senate campaign ad. But a changed Manchin stepped forward after Newton. In a signature moment as a legislator, he and Toomey bucked the NRA, and they co-sponsored a bipartisan effort to close any loopholes allowing the deranged and dangerous to buy firearms at gun shows and on the internet, and no background check required. There were 55 votes for this legislation in the Senate, including 4 Republicans, but 60 votes were required because of the filibuster, and so for 8 years we've added more names to the list of needless tragedies, including San Jose, which could be included on Wednesday of the last week, that have inspired the recurring the Onion headline, and no way to prevent this no way to prevent this, and it says only a nation where this regularly happens. The filibuster is a profoundly anti-democratic tool, New York University history professor Tom Sugrue had told the Daily Beast. The founders were opposed to a minority veto in the Senate, so it can't be justified, basically, as a part of America's long political past. And its most persistent use was to thwart the civil rights legislation that had bipartisan support in the post Second World War period. And Manchin may believe that he's preserving bipartisanship by supporting the filibuster, but history and a simple analyst of and an analyst of recent votes would tell him he's accomplishing exactly the opposite at a time when the squatter Donald Trump's authoritarianism and seditious lies have led Republicans around the country to create the legal regimen for state legislators to reject the will of their voters, and the need to act is fucking clear. But to preserve the ability of the half dozen or so Republican senators willing to work with Democrats in a bipartisan manner to protect the Republic, Manchin and Sinema must rid the Senate of the filibuster, and to do anything less will not only imperil any chance of bipartisanship, but our democracy in itself. But yeah.